For 4 years, the Immigration Subcommittee has sounded the alarm about the cost of the Democrats' open border policies on our schools, our hospitals, homeless shelters, food banks, law enforcement, drug and human trafficking, and the effect on suppressing American wages. But what we're now discovering is that many within these populations immediately set out to rob our country of literally billions of dollars paid by American taxpayers to help needy Americans. Worse still, evidence is now emerging from whistleblowers that this was done while Democratic officials in sanctuary jurisdictions deliberately turned a blind eye to this industrial-scale larceny in exchange for political support. We've already heard from TSA agents who watched helplessly as Somali immigrants brazenly shipped millions of dollars out of this country in their carry-on luggage, while alarms to the Biden administration were simply ignored. We've heard audio recordings of these criminals discussing with Minnesota's Democratic Attorney General how they had each other's backs. We've heard whistleblowers tell us of their warnings to Minnesota's governor resulting in retaliation against them. Reports that terrorist groups like al-Shabaab in Somalia received a cut of these funds are particularly disturbing. One estimate is that the Minnesota scandal accounts for some $9 billion of stolen funds, and as investigators begin turning over rocks in other Democratic sanctuary jurisdictions like California and New York, this may prove just the tip of an iceberg of corruption. But there's more. Although this fraud may well end up implicating thousands of illegal aliens allowed into our country and then protected from prosecution by the Democrats, Social Security fraud implicates literally millions, and I'll address this issue in the ANS that I'll present shortly. Yet our ability to remove such fraudsters is hamstrung by the court, sometimes for decades. In one case from 2017, the Board of Immigration Appeals held that an alien was not removable from the United States for having committed an aggravated felony, despite the alien's fraud conviction for a $169,000 food stamp scheme. In another case, an alien was placed in removal proceedings in 2005, where he remained until at least 2013, when his case finally made its way to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit to determine whether his conviction for conspiracy to traffic in identification documents made him removable from the United States. Another fraudster spent 2 years challenging his removal proceedings, even though he admitted that he had received up to $3.5 million through food stamp fraud. Other cases with aliens convicted of wire fraud and food stamp fraud languished for 1.5 years and 4 years, respectively, before a federal court finally upheld their removal orders. In many other cases, aliens remain eligible to stay in the U.S. indefinitely, despite their fraud convictions. This bill by our colleague Dave Taylor streamlines this removal process. The bill is simple. If you admit to or are convicted of fraudulently receiving public benefits, you are out of here on the next plane and can never return. I think the vast majority of Americans would ask, especially after all we've learned, who could possibly oppose such a sensible bill?